All right, so this is where we stopped last time. We want to work on this application, which is a splitter. And what's the aim? Because anything you want to work on, you must know what that thing is trying to solve. The problem that this thing is trying to solve is that you have a bill that you want to pay. For example, maybe I have 1,200 here, and you want to share that bill among the people, the number of people. Maybe you go out with your friend, and the total amount that you guys spend is 1,200, and you want to share it among all of you, like five. So, how much each one of the person is going to pay? There like that. So that's what this application all about. But that's not the major thing. Major thing here is that we want to know how we can use JavaScript to solve this problem. We've worked on the UI, which is the interface that people can use. The only thing that we need to add to it now is now the interaction. So as you import the file and you pick the tips that you have there, then from there you have the amount that each person is going to pay. So the tip amount that each person is going to pay and the total per each person. So there like that. For example, here, since there are five people, so we need to divide this amount there like that. And then whatever you get there, you add it to the tip that you pass at this place. So it is 5%. So whatever the amount that we get, we add 5% to it. That's what is going to be the tip amount, and the total for each person is going to display this page. And from our code, I hope you can still hear me. From our code,
Yes, I
here,
can, sir.
yeah, so from our code, we have different sections. So we have the build section and some, we have the tip section and we have this. And we set up our JavaScript already by selecting all the necessary stuff that we need inside JavaScript. Don't forget, when you want to manipulate anything on the page, if that stuff is already on the page, you have to bring it into JavaScript. And how do you do that? Is by targeting your element by using any of the methods that we've talked about. And here we are using query selector to select, and sometimes or here we are using query selector all because it's not one item. So there are multiple items and we want to select them together there. So the only thing we need to add now is to go with the event. So you don't just want to do things when the page is slow. So when I reload the page here, nothing is happening here. So we don't want to be calculating anything. The only time we do calculation is when the user has already imputed all the necessary value that we need there like that. So and what are the value that we need this place? So we need to get the value for the bill there, and that's the reason why we have this bill input at the top here. Again, we need to have the number of people because it's we need to use that, and that's the reason why we have this number of people input by selecting it based on any type of selector you want. So this is the selector I'm using to pick the element based on what we have inside the HTML code there, like that. And for the tip options, so these are the tips option here. Since it's not one item, so yeah, we're using query selector all to pick all of them into this single variable. So all of them, so this 5%, the 10%, 15%, 25%, and so forth like that, all of them, we have it here inside this single variable instead of us creating variable for each one of them. Because when you have bunch of items, you don't create multiple variable for them. You create a single variable, but it's going to hold them in a form of array that we've talked about. Again, we need access to this tip amount because here we need to be able to manipulate what we have here. So we need to manipulate this value. And if you go to the HTML, how we selecting it? So we're looking for anything like tip amount like that. So, and if you go to the HTML, you see that we have this tip amount there so that we can replace it later on from JavaScript. Again, too, we have the total amount, which is going to be this. So we have this total amount that we're going to be replacing to through JavaScript later on. And again, lastly here, we have the reset button that once you click, it clears up all the stuff that has been input in the box. So if I have 1,200 here, and once you click on reset later on, it will remove all this value and reset it back to the default. The same thing too, it will remove all the value that I filled and go back to this default state so that they can do it again for another set of calculation there, like that. So we've gotten all our element, and the next thing we need to do here is that how do we know when the user has typed something inside this box so that we can put some stuff there, like that. So how do we listen for what the user is typing inside the box? So that's where the event comes in. We've talked about the event there, like that, listener. So we need to listen for event, and there are different type of events that you can listen for. But for input, the major event you are going to listen for is input. So when you're dealing with input, the major event you are going to listen for the input, and the input is what is going to get fired anytime the user is typing something inside the box. So for each letter that I'm typing here, the input is going to fire that something has been typed. Then based on that input, on that event I'll call, you can take whatever you need from it. For example, here now, let's add event to this our build input there, because that's the input at the top there. So what do we want to do? We want to add event listener. I've talked about all this one before, so what we just need to do here is to put them in use. So we want to do the input, and what I will want to do here, so whatever function you pass here, that's what is going to get run anytime the stuff. And how do we get the value? So in order for us to get the value in JavaScript, or let me just console log out the event first so that we see what it's coming back. So this event, it have all the necessary information about the event that just occurred. So this event, it comes with a lot of goodies that you can use to work with the content that you have inside the input. So let me save this and go back to the page once again. So let me yeah, so I'm not using the correct, so this one's supposed to be small n, like that. So save, go back to the page, and now everything is working correctly. So yeah, since we've not typed anything inside the box, so you are not going to see any console. But once I put a value here, as you can see, it will fire that event. So the input event is what you're always going to be using anytime you are dealing with input, that for you to get the value that the user just type inside the box. And as you can see, it comes with a lot of information, but the major information that we need right now is this data. So under the event that occur, you are going to have this data there if you need it. But I don't really need this data because just like what I mentioned, is whatever you type inside the box at that moment that the data is going to give to you. For example, if I type y now, so if you check it, it has fired the event again. But look at it, it's only showing y. But what I have inside the box is 6y. So I want to get the entire stuff that is inside the box. So if you want to do that, I told you there's a target, which is the element that trigger the event. And which element trigger the event is our input. So since our input, as you can see, our target is now input. And under that input, if you scroll down, there is a property there known as value. So this your input or any other form controls that you are going to be working with later on. They have a property known as value, and inside that value is where you are going to see whatever you type inside the box. So let me scroll down to under V, because they are always in, as you can see. So under the input, there is a property value, and that value is where you are going to get whatever that is inside that box. It's not the word you type at that moment, but it's going to give you everything you type. So if you want to get it now, what we can just say here is that const value. So we want to extract the value. What we just need to do is to do event, then target, because we know target is going to be our input, and under it we know that we have this value. So here now I can console log out only the value, not just all the events. So going back to the page, try it again. So if I type 6, as you can see, we have 6. If I type 8, as you can see, we have 68, because that's the entire value that is inside the box. So if I type 7 and so forth like that, we always get what we type inside the box. I hope you are following. Any question? Any question?
None, none for now, sir.
All right. So as you can see, the value we are getting back, please, I told you in JavaScript, we based on type. The value that is coming back here is not number. Even though to you, it looks like the number we are typing here, but it's not number. And the reason why it is that everything you have on the page, whether it's number or text or anything, they are always string. It doesn't treat it as a number. And that's why you see the color is white here. So normally if it is not a number, it's just normal value of this color. So if I type like 6, let me try this so that I'll be able to type. What's wrong with this? It don't want me to type, but let me do the console. So console, so that you see the difference. So console, then I type this 66. So press enter, go back to the page, type 6. Can you see the difference? So this one is showing white. This is the one that is coming from the box. Why this 6 is here is the one that I put there. So can you see that they are different? The color are different. So what JavaScript is telling us here is that this one is a normal number, while this one is string. Anything that is coming from the page, JavaScript doesn't convert it for you. So you have to do all the necessary conversion, because here now, if I use some mathematical operation or operator on this value, it is not going to work at all, because it's going to treat it as a string. So in order for you to convert to a number, we know we've talked about some of the methods or the function you can use. One of them here is to wrap everything here. So we have something known as a pass int. So this is a function that is given to us in the browser. You don't need to do anything. It's already in the, this function is defined in the browser already there when you're using JavaScript. And what does this thing do? What it does is that anything you pass inside it is going to convert it to integer. And what are integer? Integers are just number without decimal point. That's what we call integer there like that. So integer and number without decimal point. I don't know what's wrong with this. Let me reopen it. I'm supposed to be able to type directly from here. So this is what I want. Well, anytime you use this pass int like this, so whatever you pass, any string you pass inside it, it will convert it to a number for you. As you can see, 56. But the problem with it is that it doesn't deal with decimal point. So if you put decimal point, as you can see, it will only return the number before the decimal point. So any number before the decimal point, that's what you get. It doesn't work with decimal point. But if you need decimal point, we have another one, which is the pass float. You know, the bill can have decimal point. Like, even though in Nigeria right now, we don't have, nobody pays in Kobo again, but your application should be able to handle that. So this pass float, this one will help you to do conversion for both the normal number and the decimal point number. As you can see, it do the conversion there like that, and it converts it into a proper value that we want. So by default, anything you are getting from the browser, if it is number to you, it is not number to JavaScript. What is coming back is a string. So in order for it to be converted to a proper number that you can use to do some calculation on it, like mathematical calculation on it, you need to convert it first to a number. And one way of converting it is by passing it into this function known as a pass int, and whatever number you pass into it, it will convert it to a number for you like that. But this pass in doesn't give you the decimal point. If you need the decimal point along with the value, then you have to use pass float. This is old way of doing it. We have another way of doing it by just using this number. So when you use number, it's going to do the same thing for you like that. So you can see this one number, it's perform it for you based on whether that is decimal or no decimal. But for every browser, even if it is old browser, all of them support this. But I will always go with this number because all major browser and a lot of people are on major browser, so I will always use this number. But in case you see something like this in a code, because like sometimes you read other people's code and you see them using this stuff, this is what is going on with it there. But yeah, what I'm going to use is this number because I want to be able to handle both the decimal point number and the one without decimal. And what it's going to do is to convert it to a number for us. So whatever the user type now, it's now going to be a number. So if I type 45, as you can see, it's coming back as number, not that white again. But there's a problem that we're going to solve later on, because all this thing will not work when you put something that is not number. As you can see, it will create a problem. That number now, it can only convert something that is number. If you pass anything that is not number to it, what you get is this NaN. NaN is just not a number. That's the full meaning of this thing. So which means whatever you pass here, it cannot convert it to a number. So it will return this now. But for now, we just assume that whatever we'll be passing here is valid. But you will never, like, you should never do this. Anytime you are building any application, even for yourself, you should never trust the input. Anytime the user have to input something inside in the box, you should never trust it. That means you should always validate that whatever the user is inputting there is right. And that's this one, if you go to any site and you want to log in, they will check whether what you pass is valid or not, because we are expecting email from you. And inside our email box, you are now typing nonsense. As you can see, this thing will not even submit yet, because what you are putting here is not even following the pattern that I'm expecting. So you have to put those patterns first before we now check whether that email is for us or not. But before you even get to the back end, we are doing the checking that what you are putting here is following a proper email or not. And that's what you always do. Anytime you need to collect input from user, you have to validate it. But for now, since this is our first application, we're not going to be doing too much there, because I don't want to add a lot of things to this one and we get lost along the way. But normally, this application even give us some error we can show. But first, let's deal with the basic stuff. Then later on, we can now add error. So anytime the user puts something that is not number, then we show it to them that this is not valid, or we don't even allow them to impute anything that is not number in the first place. But for now, we don't care about that. We just assume that they are imputing correct value. But now that the user has input something here, we need to save this, whatever the user type here, we need to save it somewhere so that we can use it for calculation later on, anytime any of this necessary information is given to us. But before, so at the top here, what I will just use to use let build value to be this. And what am I using let? I've explained this. Anytime you use let, it means you will be able to modify the variable. But anytime you use const, it means you cannot modify the value. And as you can see here, my AI has already completed what I want to do, because anytime someone inputs something inside this build input, we want to update the value of this. By default, we are setting it to 0, but once we type something inside it, we are updating the stuff to 0 like this. That's the same thing we are going to do for number of people too. So number of people like this is going to be this. So percentage is going to be this, like that. And at the same time, we're going to be updating this one later. Or let me do it for only this. So 3% like that. So what I need, we need this input from the user, we need this input from the user, and lastly we need this input. Then based on these three inputs, we calculate the value we have here like that. So the next thing we need to do now is to do it for our number of people. So number of people, the same thing that we did before is what we are going to do here too, like that. So anytime someone imputes something inside the box, because this, look at it, is input too, so we should be able to impute something. And once we impute the number of people, we get it and we save it here too, because we are going to be needing later on when we want to calculate the result. We need to know the value here, we need to know the value here, and we need to know the value. And the calculation is happening automatically based on whether all these values are filled or not. So if all the value are filled, then you see the result here. But if any one of them is missing, then the result is not going to show here at all like that. And the reason is like that because there is one button for us to do calculation. Assuming there is a button here now to click to perform the calculation, we don't need to be doing all this extra work. It's when that button click that we're going to be taking all this value. But since there is no button to click to calculate, so that means we need to listen for all this value when they change. And when they change, we check whether all of them are okay. If they are okay, we do the calculation. If they are not okay, then we remove, or we don't do any calculation, or remove whatever that is there before if nothing is valid. So the next thing we need to do is to look at this one. But this one is quite different. This one is a little bit tricky because it's not one value. So if you look at it at the top, the way we select it is different. So for the other one, we are using query selector, which means we are picking one item. But for this one, we are picking multiple items. So here is not just one thing that is here. So in order for you to access any one of them, what we have to be doing is to be using the index. But that's waste of time. What if you have 100? Are you not going to be doing 0, 1, 2, 3? No, that's is a waste of time. So because of that, array comes with a lot of functionality that we can use. Array come rain want to fail. All right, so is it recording already? Yeah. So in JavaScript, we have array. And what is array? This is a collection of values that you can put together in a single variable. So, and in order for you to define array, we have the square bracket. For example, I have 1, 6, 8, and so forth like that. So this array here now, it comes with a lot of methods and properties. One major property, one of the property here is length, that you can use to know the number of items you have inside your array. So for example, like that tip now, if I want to know the number of button that is selected or the number of items that is inside it, what I just need to do is to do tips options like this, then dot length. So array always have this property. So and once you save it and go to the page, can you see? So it's showing us the length. So that means inside this particular variable we have 6 items there. So and now from the page you can see 1, 2, 3, and this is another 3 down here. So 3 plus 3 making 6. So this is one of the property that the array is having there like that. Even though what we have is not really an array right now, but I'm going to be talking about it later on when we get to the advanced part. But array in general, it comes with some other goodies that you can have under it. One property, which is this length, that you can use to know what it is. Then again, it comes with a lot of methods. And don't forget method and function that is defined on object. So array is object. And that array now, anytime you create any array, you are going to have access to all these methods that has already been defined on it. You don't need to be creating the function yourself. All this functionality is something that you do a lot when you are working with array. So JavaScript have all this in out of the box for any array that you are going to be working with. Any array you are going to be working with, there is this at method. It have this concat, it have the every entries, it have filter. I'll be explaining this filter and find later on. But the one that I need right now is this for each. So this for each, what it does is that when you have a list of items, so it will go through each one of them one by one, and whatever function you supply to this for each is going to run that function for each one of the item you have inside that list. So here now I have 6 buttons. So here what I can just do here is to do tips option like this, then for each. And what is this thing going to do? What it's going to do is that is going to run this our function here. It's just like we are doing this add event listener that we pass this our callback there. So anytime this event occur, it will call this in. But instead of the event now, this one will happen for each one of the item we have in this list. Currently, I have 6. So for each one of them, so what it will do here is that it will start from the first one. So it will run this function for that one. Whatever you are doing there, it will run the function. Then when it's done, it will go to the second one. It will run this function again. Then when it's done with the second one, it will go to the third one, and so forth like that until it gets to the last one. That's what we call this for each. So what it does is that for each item that you have inside this place, it will run whatever function that you pass inside it. And this function you pass inside it, there are 3 things it receives. Just like this one that is receiving event. So this one too receive some stuff like that. What does it receive? It receives the item, or let's just say value. Then it receives the index of that value if you need the index. And again too, it return the like it give you the entire array, which is the same thing that we have here. The only time this one is useful is when you don't know this array there like that. But most of the time you don't need this one. What you'll be using most of the time there is this value and index. So index will give you the current value that you are working on with this function. Don't forget this same function is what is going to use for the first item, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and so forth like that. How do you know that you're on the first one? How do you know you're on the second one? The index will tell you. So index is starting from 0. So when the index is 0, at that point it means you are working on the first item. When the index is 1, at that point that your function is working on this item. When the index is 2, at that point it's working on this 1, and so forth like that. And it will run it for all of them. No matter the number of items you have in your array, it will run this same thing function you pass here. So the function you pass here, which is the callback, it will always run it. For example, here now, what I just want to do is to console log out the stuff. What's wrong with this thing? So what I just want to do is to console log out the value. So I'm going to console log out the value like this. So it's a small letter. So value, and at the same time I'm going to console log out the index. So going back to the page, as you can see, for each one of them. So the first time it's giving us the 5%, so with index 0 because that is the first item. Then the second time it run the function again. The third time it run the function all the way to the last one. So that's the job of this for each on your array there. So anytime you pass this for each on your array, whatever function you pass into it is going to run that function for all the items. And if you want to know which item are you dealing with at that moment, you can get it from the value, or you can get it from the index to know the position or the index of the value you are currently working on there,
Work.
like that. And what do we want to do right now? As you can see, there are buttons. So our value here now is just button, because whatever element you put inside your array, that's what is value. And if you look at it at the top, what are we putting inside it? We are putting all the elements that have that particular class. So going back to the page, as you can see, so what it's going to pick is all this button. So which means the value for the first time it will be this, the second time the value it will be this, it will be this, and so forth like that, until you get to the end of the entire stuff there, like that. Back. Yeah, so just like what I was saying there, we have this for each is one of the methods the array is giving to us. And I see other one that are useful that I'm going to be talking about later on once we need them. But for each, it helps you to iterate or to go over all the items inside your array one by one. And whatever you want to do on them, you pass the function and it's going to work on them. But how do you differentiate the value? So how do you differentiate the items you are working with? So it gave us the value, which is the items you have inside it. So for the first time, it's going to be the first value, the second time, and so forth like that. The second value, or the second thing you are going to pass inside your function, is the index, and the last one is the array. But most of the time you don't need this, because you see the same array you are working on that is going to give you back. So it's just waste of a thing there. So most of the time if you need it, you just call the same array you are working on, and it's going to be the same thing as what is giving you here, like that. So that's why it is called array, or the parent, like that. So the element where you pass this for each on, that's what is going to give you last. The first thing it's going to give you is if the value you are working currently on, then the index of the value you are working on currently, that's what it's going to be here. So here you pass your function you want to run, and you do whatever you want to do with it. And what do we want to do here? What we just want to do is to go through it and add our event listener on each one of them. So add event listener on each one of them, because we need to add event that anytime they are clicked, we want something to happen. And what do we want it to happen? We want to update this our percentage. So just like the way we update the build value, you update the number of people down here, the same thing too, we need to do it for this one. So we go through all the items that we have there, so that later on if you remove or we add, the code will still work. You don't need to be coming here to be adding the event listener by ourselves, because it's array of value like that. And what do we want to do? What we just want to do here, so let me you can call this anything. No, this is a parameter, so you can call it anything you want. So I'll just call it btn, because I'm explaining, that's why I call it value. But value is whatever this your array is holding, like that. And this is a variable, so you can name it anything. This one that is called event, if I want, I can call it e, I can call it x, and so forth like that. So when you're working with your function, your parameter can be named anything you want. It just need to be a valid name. So yeah, I'm calling this one, and what I want to do there, like that. So I've not defined this one, so it's overdoing what I don't want. Again, to what it's doing here, I need to check how are we saving our value. As you can see, we put 5%, 10%, and so forth like that. So what we want to do here is to get only the value. What we want to do here is to get only the value that we have there. The percentage that is there, we don't need it at all, because we need to remove it. And that's the reason why he's using this replace. But first, let me do all this thing one by one. So what we want to do here is that anytime this thing is clicked, what we want to do first, so let's get the value. So const value. So we want to get the value of that button. So how do we get the value of the button? This button here now on it, that is inner HTML, in case you want to use that. So or inner text. So inner HTML or inner text, anyone is going to work, because what we have there is just normal text, like that. And what do we want to do? So let me just console log it out first, because the AI is going ahead, like that. If I'm working, I will just accept it like that. But since I'm explaining, you need to understand what is going to get into this index. I don't need it right now, because I already have access to the button that I want. But later on, there might be some time you need the index if you want to do some calculation based on the index of those values. But right now we don't need it. I only need the first one, which is a value, and I'm calling it btn here. So it can call it anything you want. Then for each one of them, so this btn now is going to be this button the first time. The second time the function run is going to be this. The third time it run is going to be this, and so forth like that until it get to the last one. But here I'm calling it btn. Yes, are you saying anything?
No, sir.
Okay, so now what do we want to do? The event we will need on this one is click. Anytime there, can you see what I'm getting back? So any one of them I clicked, it will give me the value. But look at it, is giving me along with the percentage. But when you want to do calculation, you don't need to put this percentage yourself, because like this is a string. Don't forget, anything that you are getting back is a string. So what I just need is the number. So how do I remove this percentage that is there? So in JavaScript, when you're working with any string, so string too come with their own functionality, just like array that have for each and so forth like that. So string too come with a lot of functionality or a lot of methods that you can use on them. For example, one of them here is this. So when you use dot, this is how you access any one of these things. So here ends with, this is one of the method that you can use to check whether it ends with a particular stuff or not. So if this whatever you have here is ending with that particular value, it will return true. As you can see, this one will tell you whether the text you are working with, it end with this particular value. If it end with it, it will return true. But if it doesn't end with it, as you can see, it will return false. So which means this text is not ending with a, while this one is ending with percentage. So you can do this. This is one functionality, but this is not the one I need. The one I need here is known as a replace. So this replace, you can use it to replace a particular text that is there. So this one too looks for a text. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for percentage. So if you can see it, just replace it with empty string. So what it will do here is that the first percentage is fine there. It will replace it with empty here. So as you can see, it has replaced the percentage with empty string, and that's why it's returning 50. For example, here now, if I want to replace 5, maybe with a, as you can see, the value is 50%, but I'm replacing the value 5 or the text 5, then replacing it with a. So it will go through the text, look for where you have 5, the first 5 you can find there, then it will replace it with a, the first 5. Because here now, if I have another 5 there, like that, that's another way of handling that. Can you see? It did not replace that second one. It only replaced the first one it can find. So if you want to replace all of them, we have another method you can use, which is replace all. So now, instead of just replacing only the first one it can find there, then it replace anywhere you have 5 or the text. So this is what you are looking for. This is what you want to replace, and this is what you want to replace it with. And that's what we want to do here. So the value we are getting back is adding percentage, but I don't need all the percentage there. I only need the value. So what do? We remove the percentage. How do we remove it? We just pass empty. So which means, as you can see here, I pass empty here. But if I want to replace it with something else, maybe iPhone, as you can see, it will replace the value with that. But that's not what I want. I want it to be empty so that I will only get the number out of it. That's one way. This is not the only way. This is just one way. And that's one thing about JavaScript. You can do things in different way. But this is one way, and is most cheapest way of doing this. So we get the value. So what do we need to do? The value we got here, what we are going to do, you can see now, this is another method. Now I told you there are different methods of solving the stuff, but that's not what I want. What I want here is to replace. And what am I replacing? I'm replacing the percentage with empty string. So now, once this thing is saved and we are doing console log now, you see that is only the value that we are getting because we've replaced the percentage. But again, too, this is not number. Don't forget, anything you are getting from here is not number. That's why it's showing white. So we need to convert everything to number. How do we convert it to number? Then we wrap everything. So we wrap everything in number, and that's where this all stuff comes in. So you can see when you break them down, you understand what is going on with each one of them. Compared to I just type everything at once. So I broke everything down. First, we get the text. After we got the text, we replace the percentage that is there with empty string. Then the remaining number that is there, we convert it to a proper number. So that by the time we get to the page now and you press enter, as you can see, it's display as a proper number. So if I click on 25, we get this. If I click on 70, we get this. If I click on 5, we get this. There's different ways of handling this thing. If I want, instead of me doing like this, I can add something like data value is going to be 70%. Then extract this value directly. This is one way. So in JavaScript, you can handle this thing in different way based on the way you arrange your element there, or you can use as slice. So just like what is doing there, slice is different from replace. So here now if I have maybe you have a number, maybe 1 2 whatever stuff like this, you can use slice. And what is slice? Slice is going to return a set of that number back to you. Maybe this number now, how many are there? So we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So I want to return the first 4 number. That's where slice comes in. So slice can help you to extract a particular number or a particular text out of whatever you have. So you have the start. So where do you want to start extracting from, and where do you want it to stop? So here it follow that index of array. So this is 0, this is 1, and so forth like that. So if you want it to start from 1, so what we just do here is to pass 1. Then how many value do you want to take after that? So I want to take 4 value. I want to take up to 4 like this because I did not take that. So here, as you can see, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. And as you can see, stop here because it doesn't include the end there. So why is it not putting up to this side? Is because it doesn't get to the end there. So any number you put there, that's where you want to stop, but it doesn't include that value there. Let me use something else so that you can see there. So here I have Kayode like this. So and I want to slice it. So I want to take Kayo. So in order for me to take this Kayo out of it, so this is 0 1 2. But don't forget you want to include Kayo. So that means you have to stop here. So when you stop at 0, then it will include all this one. So where do you want to start? From 0. So this is 0 1 2, or you can count it from here 1 2 3 like that. Is that the way you want to do it? So just do 3 like that, and as you can see, it will give only Kayo. So what I'm doing here, I'm slicing, taking parts. So if I want to take this order now, so what I will just do is this is 0 1 2 3. So that means when I want to slice it, I need to start from 3 like this all the way. So if you don't pass the end, it will take to all the way to the end. But if you know the number of the end too, you can specify it like that. So it start at 3, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 or 7, you can pass the stuff like that. So if you pass 6, it's still going to give us the same thing in that way like that. So slice is F2. So the same thing too, you can use it here. So since we have 15% like this, you can see we only need the first 2. So if I want to pick the first 2, what I will just do is slice from 0 all the way to so 0 1 2 like that, so all the way to 2. And as you can see, I'll be able to pick the first 2 that is there like that. So this is one way of solving a problem. But I'm using this method, but you can use any method to extract out the number. So after getting the number, what do we need to do now? We need to call a function. In all this thing, because I skip it, but we need to be calling this function anytime this thing is input. So whether you click something here, or you do something here, or you do something here, we need to call a function, and that function is the one that is going to check everything whether they are okay. Then when it is okay, it update this and make sure the button is active. Then if it is not okay, it return everything back to 0 and make sure that this button is disabled. So what is that function? So you can create a function. Now we want to create our own function, and the name of the function is going to be this calculate. So I'm just going to call it calculate like that. So what is it going to do? What it is going to do, just what I mentioned now. So the first thing we need to do is to check if all values are present. So that's the first thing we need to do. Then after that, if all present, what do we want to do? Then update the amounts like that and activate the reset button. If else like this is what we need to do, then we need to show error, but we don't care about the error for now. We just reset it. So reset the amount and deactivate the reset button. So this is the action we are going to perform inside it. So this is what you are going to be doing in your head in case you want. Most of the time I don't write all the comments like this because I already know what I want to do in my head. Then start doing it according, but this is what you'll be doing the mental model there. So you know whatever you want to do, then based on that you now start writing code that follows the text here. And that's the reason why when you are dealing with anything or anytime I want to do something, I used to explain it first before I write the code, because that's what is going to differentiate you between you that is learning properly and someone that is learning on their own there, because there's some little stuff that will not be explained to them because the way they are learning or the resources they are learning from, there's a lot of things that is going on there, and There's some little details that needs to go along with it there like that. Some all of this thing we explain it, but some of them, most of them don't really talk about it are there. So when you want to do anything, you need to understand what you are doing first. So if you want to write them down, you can write it down as a comment like this, then you start writing the code that follows it, or you just follow the thoughts you have in your head and you keep writing the code according to that. But writing it down here as a beginner is kind of useful because you know what you need to do and you don't need to start going back in your head and say, oh, what I need to do there, what I need to do. But once you already itemize everything, then you start writing the code. So this function, we need to call it here because we don't know which one the user is going to change first. Why do we need to call it anywhere? What if I impute the t first before imputing the number of people and now imputing b later on? So we don't know which one they are going to impute because there is no step here that tell them that they have to do this one first, do this one next, and do this one next. So they can modify any one of them in any order they want. So since we don't know which one they are going to do first, so we need to call this function inside any of this event. So we need to call it here, and at the same time too, so instead of us doing this, we need to set the tip amount like that and we calculate. So anytime you change any one of them, the calculate will run, and once it's run, it will check whether everything is present, even if you check this input and other one are not there, as you can see here. So if only one is here and the other one are not present, it doesn't do anything. The only time it will do is when all, as you can see, there's a condition here that we need to use. So if all, that means this value is not zero, this one is not zero, and this one is not. But this tip can actually, yeah, so we need to put tip. So for now, let us assume that tip must be there. So all this value, as you can see, they are zero right now. None of them must be zero like that. So the only time we are going to do any calculation is when this value are not zero and they are greater than zero too, because sometimes, don't forget, I told you here I can put -3. This is valid. So it's valid, but to our this thing is not valid because there's no way you'll be paying negative value for us. So value have to be positive. These are some other validation you can add into the stuff. But for now, we just assume whatever value we put in here, they are valid there like that. So what do we need to do? We need to check if all the value are present here. This is our condition now. So we need to check if this thing is greater than zero, and this one is greater than zero, and this one is greater than zero, like that. So if it's greater than zero, yes, everything is okay. So we want to do this. So this is what we want to do. Then else, so if it is not, this is another thing we want to do. As you can see now, I've converted the stuff into code there. So from the comment, it get converted into code. So we check if all the value are present, and for it to be present, it means it's greater than zero. All of them are greater than zero. If it is, we want to do something here, but if it is not, we want to do another thing here. So what do I want to do? So I'm going to do the success case first so that you can see the reason why we need to undo the other one, the negative part of it. So let's undo this one. So what do we want to do? So if everything is present, we need to calculate the tip amount value for each one of them like that. So, and how do we calculate this thing as jump in that way? So yeah, the tip amount, we need to calculate that one first. So const tip amount, and what is tip amount value? What we just need to do here is that we need to get the, so yeah, for example, I have 1,000, or let's just use 100. So we want to pay 100 naira like that, and we are two people. So what is here is that we need to divide this amount by this. So when you divide it by 2, you know that one person will pay 50, another person will pay 50 when we are not talking
50,
about
yeah,
the this thing. So that's what we need to do.
50.
So we need to take this our bill, we divide it by 2. That's what is going to give the tip. It's going to give the bill amount for each person. Then after that, we now calculate the percentage. So percentage is now going to be this percentage plus whatever we calculate here, like that. So the tip amount, let's say, so it's going to be this. No, when I'm doing that, that's total because I've already calculated the total in that way. So what we need to do here, so the tip, let me see it. So tip amount per person. So if we are paying this one, so we need to multiply it to get this value. So first, let's get the tip value first. No, it's not tip. let's just get the uh, base amount like this. So base amount value, this is going to be what I just explained now, which is the bill value. So it's going to be bill value, what's wrong with this thing, divided by the number of people, like that. So let me console log it out so that we know that we are getting the value. So here now, let me come here. Nothing will happen yet because I only fill one. So let me fill 100 here. So nothing will happen. And here, let me fill 2. Nothing will still happen. Don't forget, the only time it will happen is when the 3 value are filled. And let me click on 5. Can you see now? It will calculate the value because here now, we fill the bill, we fill the celeb, even though something is wrong here. We did not update the styling, but we're going to do that one later on. And then we have 2 here. So it has given us the value. So since we are paying 100 and it's 2 people, so that means each one of you will share it equally. If it is 3 people, so as you can see, what you get, this is what I want to bring outside. So you can see the decimal point. There's a lot of decimal point going on here, but we only need 2 out of it. But later on, we are going to see how to shorten this thing into 2 instead of it to be all this long value. So what if it is 4 people and you need to pay, what's 4 people and you need to pay 100? As you can see, each person is going to pay 25 naira. That's the base. But we need to calculate the percent. So the percentage now is going to be 25 multiplied by this 5% here. That's what is going to give us the tip amount. Then this 25 plus that tip amount is what is going to give us the total that we need here. So here comes tip amount there like that. Tip amount value is going to be this base multiplied by the percentage we have, then divided by 100. Or you divide this one by 100 first before, wait, tip amount value like that. So it's going to be this. Then from there, we need to, this one is already doing a lot of things that I don't want to be doing the mathematics in that way. So what we need to do here, the value we get here, we multiply by that one. So let's do the basic math. I don't want you to go. So what we just need to do here is going to be, what is that? What did I call it? So it's a tip percent. So tip percent like this. So for us to get the percentage, because here, as you can see, 15, I'm not consolidating out again. 15 here is not the percentage. So we need to divide it by 100, which is 15 divided by 100 for us to get this 0.15. So that's what we need to to do here. So the tip percent divided by 100 like this, then, which is still the other way, but I want it to be in this value so that it's kind of clear, even though the division kind of the same thing, but here for the first we get the percentage, which is going to give us this 0.0 whatever stuff. Then this one now we multiply by, so what we just need to do is to multiply by that 25 that is being paid. So this is your tip amount. Then this tip amount, it will now going to be 25 plus 3.75. So that's now our total that each person needs to pay like that. So now we need to calculate the, so cons total value is now going to be our base value, which is what we already have here, then plus the tip amount value. So what do we need to do next? We need to update all this value. But before I update all the value, let's do the console first. So console tip amount, so that we know that the calculation is right, like that. So save it, go back to the page once again. We have what? We have 100, we have that use 5%, oh I use 15. So we have 15%, and here we have 4 people. And as you can see, so each person normally without tip, you are supposed to pay 25%, but the tip is 15. So that 15, you need to add extra 3 naira. Then the entire stuff you are going to pay will now be this 28.75. So all this value now, majorly these two, we need to update what we have here, and we need to activate this our button. So what we need to do here, so let me remove this. So what we need to do now, so what are the values? As you can see, we select them. So the tip amount, we select this, our total amount, and we already have our reset button. So what we just need to do is to update all this value, and we need to update the disable property of this. So save, and once it's saved now, we can go to the page. So 100 like that, 15%, and we have 4 people. And as you can see, the button has been activated. The tip per person is this, and the total per each person is this one. But what is going on here? This is what I said I want to explain here. This to fix. So when you're working with a number, so for example here, I have a number which is let's say I put inside, so const x to be 3.35 point whatever stuff assuming the decimal point is long like this. So if I call x, as you can see, the decimal point is really long. But I want to shorten the decimal
Your
point
screen has
to 2.
increased, sir.
Okay, let me go back to the page. Let me stop recording
Your screen
first.
is
Yeah, so as I was saying, yeah, so I want to explain this to fix. I'm currently in my code. I hope you can see it.
yes, sir.
All right, so I want to explain what is this to fix, which is what I have here. So imagine I have this variable x, which have this 35.52 and so forth like that. So when you do some calculation, for example, if I do 3 divided by 11, I think, as you can see here, can you see the number of decimal place is really much. When you're dealing with money, what you just need is the 2 decimal place. So how do you convert any value into those decimal place in JavaScript? So any value you are working with, it just like your string that have a lot of goodies like replace and so forth like so. Number two come with their own method. So everything you have in JavaScript have a lot of functionality for them, some basic stuff out of the box. It's only those one that it doesn't have that you are going to be creating yourself like that, some custom. So one of them here is this to fix, to exponential, to precision. But what we need right now is to fix. Well, what does this thing do? Is a function that receives the number of decimal place you want. So if I put 3 here, what this means is that by the time you give me the value, the decimal part is going to be like this. And as you can see, I'm only getting 3 out of all the decimal places I have here. So if I want it to be 1 decimal place, so to fix, I will just pass 1 here. So it will only give me 1 decimal place. And again, to this thing, you used to do all those normal mathematics you are used to there. For example, I use cons y is 5.78, 5.78, 5.783, whatever stuff like this. And if I use that y, then dot to fix like that, it will do all the necessary calculation you are used to when you're rounding off the stuff. So here, if I do one like this, as you can see, so 5.78, now it has rounded up to 5.8 because the number here, is 5 and above. So 5 and above, increase 1. Then any number below 5, then it round down to 0. Like that. So you can see, so it will do all those normal calculation. And that's what I'm doing here. So no matter the number of decimal place we are getting from here, we are making sure that it only display 2 decimal place out of it. So this is the decimal place, and that's the reason why I have 2 here, because I always want to show 2 decimal place. But what will now happen? Because now we've not handled the other part. What if any one of them is missing? For example, here now we fill it already, and now remove all this thing. As you can see, normally now we don't have anything again. All this is supposed to go back to 0 because something is missing that we are using. So if I put it to maybe 400, as you can see, it's working. It will calculate the value, and that's the reason why you see that it's a calculate in any one of them. As soon as any one of them change and all the value are filled, it will calculate the value automatically. So if I remove this, as you can see, the value change. If I add to it like this, it will recalculate the value automatically, because anytime you change this value, it do the calculation and it check whether all the other one are present. If they are present, it do calculation. But if any one of them is missing, for example, I remove the number of people and I'm changing this, as you can see, nothing is happening here. And that's the reason why we need this S to reset the value, so that they know that something is missing. They need to put before you can get the value, because we have the bill, but we don't know the number of people, so there's no we can count it. So if I put 2 now, as you can see, it calculates it. But if there is no people, what are you calculating when there is no people like that? So that's the reason why we have this that reset. So what do we need to do? We need to reset everything back to the way it used to be. So we disable the button, we set all the value back to their original stuff that is there, because that's what we have there by default. So now if I put uh 40,000 like that, so 10% of 40,000, and we are let's just say 6 people. So as you can see here, the tips, each person is going to add 600 and something there, or $6 there, $600 whatever stuff. And again, the final stuff is going to be this 7,000 whatever stuff I need to pay. But now if I remove any one of them, as you can see, it goes back to 0, because one of the value that is required is not set. So, and again, the button is disabled like that. So if I put 1 person, it's just the same thing as you taking all the all the bills for everything since it's just one person.
Yeah.
And if you are 12 people, so for 12 people now, or each person is going to pay 3,066.67 like that. But now we've not handled this button, so this button too is cheap. So once we click on reset, what it does is that it performs everything we have here. So what the reset button is going to do is everything we have here, but we are going to modernize it soon. So what we just need to do is a reset button like that. So it's going to do all this thing, but we don't need to do all this nonsense that is here. So we don't need to be doing calculation. This is just waste of time. What we need to do is to reset all the value. So we need to even here itself, we need to reset. Oh no, we don't need. So when you click on reset, what you need to do is bill is zero, like that. So number of people is zero, tip is zero, and we reset all this in. But if you look at here, you see that uh yeah, you see that something is going on here there, but we're going to come back into it later on. So I want that one to be in the next class when we are adding some extra functionality. But for now, this is actually okay like that. So let's go back to the page. I don't want to add too much of stuff in this class. So 10, and we have 4 people. As you can see, we have this. And once I click on reset, as you can see, it will wipe off the value here. It will wipe off the value here. It will reset everything. That's what the reset is doing. Reset will remove all the value here, remove what you have here, remove what you have here, remove it here too. But this one is not removed yet, like that. So there's another way we're going to be taking care of this. But first, before we do that, let's add something that is missing here. Because anytime you click on 5, there's no way you know that it is 5 that the user click. If you click 15, it did not really tell us that it's 15 that the user clicked. So how do we do that? So let's go back to where we are doing our click. Anytime you click on any one of them, what we need to do is to add the class. We've created that class already in our CSS. So if you scroll down, as you can see, anytime it have class active or anytime it is over, the over one is working, but we are not adding the class active. So if I go back to the HTML and I add active to any one of them, you see that that one now is going to have that class on it, as you can see. But this needs to happen when you click, not just putting it directly like this. So how do we do that? So it's still the same thing. It's what we are doing here. So anytime it is click, what we want to do before after calculation is to just remove. So first of all, remove the stuff, then add active class to the click button. So these are what we need to do. So the first thing we need to do is to remove active class from all the button. So in order for us to do that, we need to loop through them again because we don't know which one was clicked before. So since you don't know which one
Yeah.
was clicked before, you need to go through everything and remove that active. So that's why this thing is. So and how do you do that? So you loop through over everything, and as you can see, and the next thing we now do is that to add it on the one that is active. So first, remove any one of them that have class active. Then after that, the one that is now click, then now add active. The reason we have to do this is because you don't know whether it is 5 they click before or 10. This is one way of doing it, but this is not the best solution because now imagine you have 200 buttons. That means you keep going through all of them every time another one is clicked, but that's a bad is bad. It would be nice if any one of them is active, we know the one that is active, we just remove it and add it to the other one automatically. But I'm not going to go deeper into those at the advanced way of doing. I'm doing simple stuff because of this for each that I explained there like that. But there's a better way of handling. So it's just like the way we are keeping tracking all this value, we can keep tracking of the button that is active too. So based on the one that we put here as active, is to go to that button and apply it on it automatically too, like that. So, but for now, we don't want to go deeper into that advanced part. So we do it in this way. But there's going to be a problem too when you reset. It will not reset that one because we did not undo it. So here, if I put 4,000 here, so we put 10, as you can see now. So if you change it to 5, it will tell the user that it is 5 there. So if I go to 70, it will show it 70, and it is 4 people like that. So since it's 70% of this is that, and each person is going to pay 1.7. But if it is 5% of whatever, so you see, it's going to give us that. So if it's 15% or if it is 10% like that, it's going to give us what is there. And once I click on reset, as you can see, it reset the other one, but it did not reset this one. So the same thing we did here is what we are going to do down there for reset. We just go through everything because we don't know which one is active. So what we just do is paste the code here. But if you look at it, there are some places that we are repeating ourselves like that. So we undo it here. So instead of all putting all the code of calculation here, put it here, put it here. Can you see what we did? We create a function, and that function is what we call
Everything
anytime we
right.
need it. So if any logic is changing, as you can see, this is the only place I will modify it. I don't need to be going into 3 places to modify the same thing. That's the advantage of function. Once you see that you are raising things and those things are really much, you don't. But this one now, the reason I do it like this because it's not that like it's not really long. It's just simple stuff. So I can copy it from here, then copy it into this side. But if it's this thing that I'm doing here is something that is really long and I need to do it in different places that is more than these two, what I will do is create a function, and that function is what I'm going to call. Or right now, what I can just do is creating a function. So for example, function remove active button. You can see the way I'm naming it. I'm naming it in a way that is more readable. If you like, call it X, call it Y. This thing doesn't care. But always use a name that is descriptive. So anybody I read the name, they don't even need to check the what this thing is doing from the name. They already know what is going on there, even though that doesn't mean it to do it like that. So here now, as you can see, I have it as a function. So in case I want to change the logic later on, this is the only place I will just modify and it will still work like that. So save, go back to the page that we're working on. So we have uh, this amount, so 10% of everything, and we have 4 people. And as you can see, it will give us, and if I click reset, as you can see that it works. So whether I do it like this or I reset, it's still working. And if I need to make any changes, change the code here, and I don't need to start doing it here and doing it at this side. This is the advantage of function like that. It make it easier for you. Again, too, if you look at what we are doing inside all this event listener, later on, there are some different elements they are going to be using the same event listener. So the same logic we have here is what you'll be using there too. So instead of you passing it directly here, what you just do is to create that function outside, and anywhere you need to use it, you now pass it to that event listener. But since this one is not being used anywhere apart from this, the same thing with this one too. It's not being used anywhere apart from this. But if you look at them, if you look at these two, they follow the same pattern. So instead of me doing it like this, copying and paste, like that, I can actually create a function, but it will now keep doing some advanced stuff because number of people is different from build value. So I need to know that function needs to know whether you're updating build value or you're updating number of this. So to start going deeper, that's why I have to do it in this way. But this side and this side, they are the same. This thing and this thing, they are the same, like that. But I don't need to start because you don't overdo it. You do it when it is necessary, like that. So we have all the necessary stuff we need, but this thing is not yet finished there because anybody can just put something nonsense here like that. So now I've put SDF and I put another nonsense here. As you can see, nothing will, even though we've undo some of this, but it would be nice if we inform the user that what they are doing here is wrong, just like the way I have here. Because when you just type and you don't tell them, some people might not know what you know. Some people, the user, they are crazy like that. So they will start calling your customer care and whatever stuff that this thing is not working the way it's like, whereas they are the one that did not put the correct stuff. But in order for you to reduce all those unnecessary calls and this thing, you can add error here. So anytime there is something else that is not number is here, we can display the error message. And those are the stuff we're going to be adding into this application tomorrow there like that. So let me get to the application itself, the design file, or okay, this is it. So the design file, you are going to see that all this thing has been given to us already like that. So we have this, let me see, where is the states for that. I think this is it. So let me check the design. It should be this. So it should be this like that. So where is the preview? Yeah, so as you can see the error. So when you impute something that is wrong there, the error is supposed to come aside like this. But we did not design this in that way for us to be able to put error here. So we are going to put the error under them. So we not put it there because it's still going to be the same thing like that. The other one is just the CSS. So it's just CSS So which is not the major thing here. The JavaScript part is the major thing. So anytime you input nonsense stuff like this there, we need to inform the user that what they put here is wrong there. So if they don't put correct stuff here, what they said is wrong, message like that. And when you reset, it reset all those errors to everything will be reset there in that way. All right, so that's going to be all for today. Let me stop recording and